Negative free roll is one of those poker phrases we hear all the time, but most of us actually have no idea what it means. So let's talk about negative free roll. Basically, it's giving your opponent an opportunity to win more of your chips without any additional risk. So clearly it's a bad thing. We should avoid negative free rolls. Let's talk about two very common negative free rolls that come up in No Limit Texas Hold'em. The first is quite a mouthful, so hang in there with me. It's when we check the river with odds, meaning with pot odds, to call an all-in bet by our opponent. So we negative free roll our opponent if we check a river that we intend anyways to call if he bets all in. Why not just lead out with an all-in bet of our own? Let's go through a hand example to explain exactly why we want to shove all in and not negative free roll our opponent. Let's say the pot is 10K and our stack is 3K, relatively small to the pot. And we have 6, 10. Now the board comes out 6, 7, 10, 10, king. So we have a full house. And of note, the board has 3 clubs on it. So it's conceivable that our opponent has a flush. Because if we check, we'll be obligated to call an all-in bet from our opponent. And that same check allows our opponent to check back hands that we beat. It's called a negative free roll. Let's think about what hands our opponent might have in this situation. First, the hands that we lose to, the hands where he's just way ahead. Of course, 8 of clubs, 9 of clubs gives him a straight flush. And then he'll have better full houses with 10-7, 10-king, and king-king. And if we check to him, he's just going to bet these hands. And like we said, we have incredible pot odds and we have a pretty strong hand we're obligated to call. So we're already beat. No matter what we do, we're going to lose our whole stack. So just keep that in mind. But what about when we have him beat? If he has a straight, any straight, of course a full house beats. Full house beats any flush. And he could have worse full houses that we would beat as well. If we check this river and he has one of these worse hands, he's probably going to check back on a paired board. Because a check allows our opponent to check back and preserve his hand value to see showdown when he has one of these worse hands, and to bet, get value when he has us beat, it's called a negative free roll. We'd be much better off shoving ourselves. He's then forced to call when he has one of these really strong worse hands, straight, flush, or worse full house. Let's take a look at a second common example in No Limit Texas Hold'em that people also call a negative free roll. It's slightly different though. It is when we raise the river. We're on the river again. We raise the river against an opponent who has a polarized betting range. Meaning, when he bets, we just know he either has the nuts or a bluff. Let's take a look at a hand example. Let's say the board comes out king, king, 2, 2, 6. Forget about the pot size, forget about the bet size. We just care about the hands here. Let's say we have 6, ace. We're out of position, first to act. We come to the conclusion that our hand is of medium strength. We really want to see showdown. We don't feel like if we bet and get raised, we can call, so we just check. What does our opponent do? Well, he bets. This pretty much rules out ace X from his hand. Basically, all the hands that we beat are gone. he would certainly check with this because he wants to do something similar to us. He wants to preserve his showdown value. But he bets when we check. So what does he have? He's polarized. He either has a bluff or he has the nuts, meaning any king, any two, or pocket sixes. Let's say half the time he's bluffing. So half the time we have the best hand. Should that mean we raise here half the time? Well, no, we actually should never raise, because if we do, we'll be negative free rolling our opponent. If we raise with ace six, that's two pair with an ace high, he's just going to fold all his bluffs, and he's going to call or re-raise us when he has the nuts. If we just call, we still win the same amount of money from his bluffs. Whatever money is currently in the pot, we win. If we raise and he has a bluff and he folds, we still just won whatever was already in the pot. Now, if he has us beat, it's just a predetermined fact. Why would we want to make the pot bigger? He's going to win the pot, so we want him to win a smaller pot.